Hello and welcome to this video. Today we will talk about how to assess if you should apply for a project. When applying, there are a few aspects you want to consider. First one of them would be your expertise and skills. Let's start with the level. What level of designer are you? Are you new on the platform? Are you level 3, 4 or 5? Generally, if you are newer on the platform, you want to apply for easier projects that are not too long, and then you want to build your way up to more advanced projects. As the next thing, you should consider what kind of feedback and feedback texts are you often getting from admins. For example, if you are getting feedback that you need to improve in visual enhancement, you do not have to avoid this type of task, but you should make sure to apply only for smaller projects, 1 to 2 hours, with longer deadlines, since you might need to receive more feedback and so rework from the admin. Before applying for such a task, it is also advised to practice on the improvement area. You can practice, for example, via reading articles at our help desk, watching our YouTube tutorial videos. You can practice via Sandbox Tasks section. You can also find what is Sandbox on our help desk. Simply just write Sandbox into the search tab. You can also self-practice, for example, alignment, enhancement. You can study inspirational materials. You can use also Google or Pinterest as additional sources for inspiration and learning. And then you want to consider if you have the right skill set for the project based on the project description. Occasionally, tasks require more specific skills, such as very creative enhancement, work on illustrations, icons, posters, or brochures. Another time, you might spot template editing or creating tasks that require skills in working with master slide. Any of this means that you need to have more specific skills in these areas that are not usually required for regular brush-up or enhancement task. Therefore, you should only apply if you are confident in it, as there is no time to learn these advanced skills while the project is ongoing. So next big area that you want to consider is the time. So first of all, how long are you available? Do you have any other commitments in some time? When do you need to go to sleep? So let's go through this example. Let's say that it is evening 18:00 and you need to wake up to your day job the next day at 7 in the morning. So you need around 8 hours of sleep. Therefore, the project deadline should not pass 23 or even sooner. This means you have maximum 5 hours of available time now, or possibly you can take a project with a very long deadline, for example 2 days, and agree with admin in advance that you will do some work today and finish the project next day before the deadline. In such cases, you also need to make sure you are having sufficient availability the next days and communicate well with admins when you will be back working. Of course, when considering the time, you always want to know how long is the task duration. So what is the hourly estimation of admins for this project? Let's take again a small example. For example, we have one project that should take 2.5 hours of design work, and this is excluding the breaks. The next natural step is the deadline. So what is the time frame for delivering the project? Our example is that for this 2.5 hours project that we talked about in the task duration, we have deadline 4 hours. So now that we know the task duration, we know the deadline, we know if we are available, let's consider the speed. Is your speed in line with task duration, or do you need more time, therefore longer deadline? Are you a more experienced designer who can keep up with the estimated time, or do you still need a bit more time than estimated to deliver satisfying results to admin? Again, if we take in consideration our example, so we know that we have 4 hours deadline, and the project duration, the task scope is 2.5 hours. We know that we are level 3 designer in this case, and maybe our speed is still slower. Therefore, it could be a bit risky as this task has only 1.5 hour buffer because we have 4 hours deadline minus the 2.5 estimation. So that leaves us only 1.5 hours difference. So this might be really a little bit too tight for still starting learning designer. Therefore, maybe you should consider in such a case applying for a different project. Next up is multitasking. Always check if you are not just a bit overly ambitious regarding handling multiple tasks. Try to think if you are considering enough your capacity regarding taking on multiple projects at once and handling them all within given deadlines without sacrificing their quality. We can sometimes see that some designers a little bit underestimated how much they can handle at the time, and then either the deadlines are suffering or the quality, and it is always a very stressful situation both for the admin team because they need to either help to fix the slides or they are missing possibly the deadline, and as well it is very stressful situation for designers if they are in such a situation, of course, because they need to split themselves between multiple tasks and they know that it's not going well, so then they are just rushing and they are as well being stressed. Therefore, it's much better to avoid such a situation by assessing correctly if there is long enough deadlines and you are having the speed to handle both or 2 or 3 projects, whatever it is, in the given times. So you really need to assess this very carefully. And the last point in the time area is if you are considering the rework time. Sometimes designers forget to account for the rework time. Rework time is also part of the project, and project edits and rework must be also managed within the deadline. Therefore, we very often say that you need to submit your final submission well before the deadline because you still need to account for any last edits that the admin might give you. So as well, if you are applying for some project, just make sure that you consider that there will be also rework included in this, so account also for that aspect. And now we came to the third and kind of last area, which is project description, which of course you want to consider very well, because based on the project description, you are assessing all the other aspects. So once you read the task description, ask yourself if you want to work on this type of project. Please note that applying for a project is a commitment to working on the project if you get allocated. It is not allowed to back up from the project once you are allocated and once you see the slides. If the project is harder than you estimated based on the project description, please then communicate with your admin first if you have any hesitations, and the admin can assess if it might be better to search for a new designer, or maybe the admin can split the project and make it manageable for you. But the communication is the key. Often, after admins clarify the project, designers realize they can actually tackle the task, and it is not as hard as they initially thought. Applying and quitting without a valid reason might also lead to a warning or a temporary ban for 72 hours. Also, if you get 3 warnings, they result in a temporary ban. The next item on this list is required software. So do you have all the required software for this project as project description states? So the usual case might be the ThinkCell requirement. Only designers who have ThinkCell software and are skilled to work in this software can apply for the task. More rarely, we might state in the description that the task requires work with design programs such as Illustrator, Photoshop, or similar. Some of our designers are skilled in the usage of these and therefore welcome to apply, but in case you cannot work on such a task, please just do not apply. It is not allowed to apply for special software projects in order to ask for that software. Now we will also look at project description example. As you can see in the top, we can see project title, which consists from task types and the slide count. Then we have the task deadline, estimated effort, project instructions. You can see the project value in USD. It is calculated based on your hourly rate. So up to 4th designer level, including this level, it is 8 USD per hour. And if you're designer level 5, then it's 10 USD per hour. Then we have minimum rating required for this task. ThinkCell requirement. You can see this project does not have anything written in here. Therefore, it means there is no ThinkCell required. But if ThinkCell would be required, it would be written in this spot. So always be careful about checking this requirement. So then we have mentioned the auto start function. This function is mostly not enabled, but sometimes for smaller projects it is enabled, and it is also enabled for test projects for our designing candidates who are just going through the application process. Then we have client status. So this says to us if we already worked on some projects for this client or not. And then we can see guidelines information, if guidelines are provided in the system for this task or not. As you know, sometimes there is only inspiration file because we possibly do not have yet client guidelines developed. So now you can see that here is all the information you need to consider carefully to be able to assess if you should apply for this project or if you should wait for some more suitable project. Just to make a small example, let's again go through this specific example we have here. Let's say I'm level 3 designer. I worked on some projects, but I'm still learning a little bit. So I can see in here, this is 4 visual enhancements and 3 repeated slides. So altogether 7 slides. Deadline is in 3.58 hours, estimated effort 2.7. So that means that's quite tiny buffer for me. ThinkCell, it was initially not required. So let's say I do not have ThinkCell and this criteria is not there. So that's fine with me. If it's required, I again need to consider if I have ThinkCell. If I don't, I just don't apply. Then I can see instructions. I need to work on all slides, follow client notes, keep input template, apply client style and guidelines. So that's pretty standard and I could follow that. Yet I did not work for this client yet. That means it might take me longer to review the guidelines because it is not something I've seen yet. So I also might need to consider this, that it might take me longer time. So all in all, considering my level and all this information, I think I should skip this project because it's really small buffer and I did not work for this client yet. It's also visual enhancement and I'm still learning. So I would be comfortable to apply for this task if the deadline is maybe in 6 hours. So this might be also a process you might apply when you are deciding if you should apply for a task or not. So we came to the last slide of this video and we will go through the main takeaways. Tasks should be never put into risk by careless applying without considering all the aspects that we discussed in this video. You, as a professional designer, must be always realistic regarding your skills and speed to be able to assess correctly if you should apply for a project or rather apply for different tasks with more suitable conditions. You should never assume that the deadlines can be extended. The stated deadlines are there for a reason. Not all clients' deadlines can be pushed to a maximum. Keep in mind that admin's team is operating with 30 to 60 projects at once, and one admin can manage 10 to 15 tasks at once, and they need to be able to quality assure the tasks before they send them to clients. Sometimes also one admin can have two projects with the same deadlines, therefore they need to have as well bigger time buffer to be able to deliver them. Improving skills during live tasks is a natural process of working on the platform, and our admins try their best to support our designers. Yet, designers need to do practice also in their free time to be able to provide standard quality right from the start. Learning must be considered as an investment to successful career on the platform. Therefore, if you are applying for a task where more feedback is expected due to lower skills in some area, it should be a smaller task with a long deadline that allows admin to give more feedback. At the same time, when you have some question and admin is not replying you right away, try to be more independent and try to Google or search on YouTube if you can figure out the issue yourself, because many times actually designers could do it by just active search on their own. We always expect certain level of independency from our designers, and there is sometimes a little bit misconception that admins are there to educate our designers. They are there to guide designers, yet this is a real job and certain expertise is required from our designers. Therefore, it is a job and not university. But we are there for you to help you as much as we can, but we also expect that you can be independent and you can find your way to also solve problems. And if you are really struggling, of course, admin is always there for you and always rather communicate issues than not. We always want to be informed and we will try to help as much as we can. And last, just information that cherry picking of projects is not allowed. Applying for a project is a commitment and you can't just change your mind once you see the slides and they seem not as easy or attractive to work on. And that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that now that you saw this video, you will have all the information required to be able to assess well if you should apply for the task or if you should just wait a little bit longer for a task that is more suitable for you. Thank you so much, and see you on the platform.